So we've been going through a series called Heroes, Villains, and Us this summer. And what we've been doing is looking at sometimes more obscure characters throughout the Bible, some of them more heroic, some of them more villainous, and then kind of saying, what can we learn from them, whether it's good or bad, and then how can we apply their lessons to our lives? And more importantly, how does God's story weave into theirs? This morning we've been almost completely in this series in the Old Testament, the Jewish scriptures. Now we're jumping into the New Testament for today. Anyway, we'll go back to the Old in a couple weeks, but we're going to be looking at a wonderful story, one of my favorite passages of Scripture, Mark 5, chapter 5, verses 21 through 43. We're going to look at a suffering father and a suffering old woman. And we'll see some others in the story as well. So I'm going to read. We always read the scripture together, not out loud this time, but you can follow along on the screen behind me. There's some Bibles on the table. Mark is the third book of the New Testament. No, excuse me, second book, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So it shouldn't be too hard to find, one of the ones with red letters. There's also a link at the bottom of the bulletin you can put into your phone if you want to follow along on your smart device. So this is Mark chapter 5, verse 21 through 43. And when Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a great crowd gathered about him, and he was beside the sea. Then came one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name, and seeing him, he fell at his feet and implored him earnestly, saying, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her so that she may be made well and live." And he went with them. And a great crowd followed him and thronged about him. And there was a woman who had had a discharge of blood for 12 years, and who had suffered much under many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard the reports about Jesus, and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his garment. For she said, "If I touch even his garment, I will be made well." And immediately the flow of blood dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. And Jesus, perceiving in himself that power had gone out from him, immediately turned about in the crowd and said, "Who touched my garments?" And his disciples said to him, "You see in the crowd pressing around you, yet you say, 'Who touched me?'" And he looked around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, and fell down before him, and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." While he was speaking, there came from the ruler's house someone who said, "Your daughter's dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" But overhearing what they said, Jesus said to the ruler of the synagogue, "Do not fear, only believe." And he allowed no one to follow him except Peter and James and John, the brother of James. They came to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, and Jesus saw a commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. And when he had entered, he said to them, "Why are you making a commotion and weeping? The child's not dead, but sleeping." And they laughed at him. But he put them all outside, took the child's father and mother, and those who were with him, and went in where the child was. Taking her by the hand, he said to her, "Talitha cumi," which means, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." And immediately the girl got up and began walking, for she was 12 years of age. And there they were immediately overcome with amazement. And he strictly charged them that no one should know this, and told them to give her something to eat. This is the word of the Lord. Well, we plan our messages and our series out months in advance. Which message falls on which Sunday, which week, is usually determined well before the messages ever come out. And one benefit of that is that we're not captive to kind of the regular news cycle that happens in and out. It kind of gives us an opportunity to take in what we would consider the timeless word of God at any time we need to, and kind of leave it up to the Lord in terms of what we're going to end up with. In one sense, we do that because it communicates the word of God is timely for every moment that we're in, no matter what it is, no matter what season we're in. But then there are sometimes, where it feels especially providential, meaning especially as if God has specifically planned it out, that we're in a certain scripture for a certain week, even though it's planned out way in advance. And this passage today, it's a wonderful passage. We've looked at it, I realized a few times, recently, it's about 2 years ago, but one which focuses on immense suffering. It's immense suffering of a father whose child is in a desperate state, on the verge of death. And by the end of the story, of course, has actually died. It's a story about what Jesus has to say to those who are going through suffering. The most unspeakable loss of a child or another dear loved one. With the shooting in El Paso and in Dayton this last week, the shocking loss of loved ones that comes so unexpectedly, the suffering therein is perhaps particularly on the front of our minds when we come to this passage today. It's also about long time suffering of a woman who had a chronic illness and felt absolutely helpless. We have those among us suffering from things like cancer, prayed for Rosa, of course, and others who have long-term chronic pains. This message speaks to those who are going through significant suffering of their bodies and the social ramifications that come along with the physical suffering. But even more than those things, it's a message of how Jesus treats those who are most deeply suffering. There are few pictures, I think, as beautiful as the one painted in this story today of the Lord Jesus. If you are suffering in any way today, emotionally, physically, whatever that might be, whether you're a follower of Jesus or you're not, I pray this message today will draw you closer to him. Here's our key takeaway today. We try to have one key main thing that you take away from the message on the back of the bulletin, and here it is behind me. Jesus draws near than anyone else to those who are suffering in order to bring comfort and healing and to lead us to trust in him above our circumstances and our current suffering. Let's see how that works out today in this story. We are in the Gospel of Mark. Mark, in my opinion, is a masterful storyteller. He, of course, is one of the authors of the 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Mark is quick and to the point when he writes. He writes the shortest gospel that we have in chapter length and in verse length. But that doesn't mean he is short on impact. It was most likely the earliest gospel that we have, probably the first one recorded. His message about Jesus is often told and found in the surrounding context, which is true of most of the Gospels and many pages of Scripture. In our Scripture today, immediately preceding what we have looked at is a story of Jesus calming the storm. If you're familiar with the Gospels in the New Testament, you may remember that story. And then right after that, he heals a demon-possessed man. And again, you may remember this. And the demons get cast out and go into a bunch of pigs. And the pigs run off a cliff. And it's a very strange story. But that happens right before this. And the picture of that, as we come into this story today, is meant to convey the absolute uniqueness of Jesus to every other suitor that would call us to trust in them. Mark argues in bringing us to this point in those passages before, who else commands nature itself, as Jesus does with the wind and the waves? Who else has the power over demons and demonic forces, as Jesus does over the evil spirits? Who else, to whom do the evil spirits tremble when they see him, as they do in the scripture right before we come into today's? And now Mark will take us in to show us Jesus' power over all our ills, including the worst diseases and including over our greatest enemy, death itself. But Mark tells us this through 2 personal people, and 3 if you include the little girl, and 4 if you include the mother of the little girl. The first is primarily our suffering Father. In many ways, this Father is kind of an avatar for us today. We are meant, most commentators think, to see ourselves in Jairus' story. The second suffering person is the key for us to understand what Jairus and what we need. It's a classic ABA structure if you study literature and genres. Mark is utilizing that structure to teach us. So let's first see that first person who we're meant to see in ourselves, this man named Jairus. Mark tells us he was a father, Jairus by name. He was a ruler of the synagogue. If you're familiar with the New Testament, you might think when you hear ruler of the synagogue, Pharisee might come to mind if you've heard those people, but most likely that's not who Jairus was. Ruler of the synagogue in the first century meant a lay leader who was over a local congregation, not primarily the ruling class in Jerusalem, ruling religious class. And so they were normal people who led local congregations, organized the synagogue service that would take place on a weekly basis in the Sabbath. They were not like pastors today or priests that we have, depending on your tradition. They didn't give their own messages as people with those professions usually do, but more, they were respected members of the synagogue who took on the planning and leadership role to make sure the people of God gathered around the Word of God and lived it out together. In fact, there's actually evidence that in the first century, some women were rulers of the synagogue at that time. There's evidence that their names are on some of those titles. So Jairus is most likely just a regular guy. He's a normal Jew of his day, seeking to follow God and walk with him and obey the Torah. The fact that Jairus is named here is likely a clue that he would have been well known probably to the early church. Perhaps he became well known throughout the church and the story was told, or he began to become a leader in some way, or he was well known to Peter. Peter is the apostle who is the main source for Mark's gospel. Most scholars consider that. And so perhaps Peter vividly remembered this story in particular. It was really impacted by Jairus, and that's why we have him named specifically. Either way, Jairus is a regular guy who has a insurmountable problem. His little girl is sick. She's sick to the point of death. The Greek phrase there that the ESV translate, the point of death, is translated really well. It's what it sounds like. We might say the child was at death's door. Hospice has been called in, if you will, at this point. The expectation is that there is no hope left for her. In fact, later we see that there are people in the house who are mourning and wailing. Even the poorest of people in ancient Israel, when death was clear, would hire mourners to come in. And what they would do is they would wail and do all sorts of things as a sign of death and lament that had happened. And those people, when Jesus shows up later, are already there. But at this point, Jairus has heard, when he's at the place of no hope left, hospice is called in, he's heard there's a guy named Jesus nearby. This Jesus he has heard has been a healer. He's been a proclaimer of the kingdom of God. He's heard he is near, he is close. So, with one last-ditch effort, we can imagine Jairus running out of his house when he sees the crowds coming and thinks perhaps Jesus is here. And he finally runs to see the crowd. We can imagine him looking frantically around to try and find Jesus so that he can have one last hope that his daughter can be healed. And then he finally sees him. We can imagine the hope that would spring up in his heart, and he runs up to Jesus, Mark says, and falls at his feet and begs him to come heal his little girl. Until you have children, those of you who are parents understand this, it's near impossible to describe the unique pain of seeing your child themselves in pain and you being able to do nothing about it. We thankfully have not encountered too many situations like that, but probably the one that was most dire for us was when Piper was just born. Her and Alicia both had some strange virus, they think, that was causing all sorts of weird levels to happen. And so Piper was in the NICU for 7 days after she was born, and she couldn't be next to us for that whole time. And they did test after test after test, and they could never figure out what was going on. And there were times when we were praying a lot and going, I don't know what is going to happen here. And then eventually just went away. And then every once in a while, she has some weirdo sickness that comes out of nowhere that no one can figure out, and it eventually goes away again. Thankfully, never that bad. But it is awful to feel like there is nothing you can do. There is nothing the doctors can do to help you, and your child is suffering. Jairus is off far worse than we were, clearly, with his little girl. The pain must be near unbearable for him and his wife. Their prayers have been exhausted, right? There is no other hope, it appears. But maybe if this Jesus can come, this healer, this one who works wonders, but they have to hurry, right? His daughter is close to death. Jesus, amazingly, to his request, shows no signs of hesitation, right? No signs of, well, I don't know. He doesn't look at Jairus and say, you're really a normal and regular guy. And look, Jairus, I'm really important in the kingdom of God. I've got this whole plan from my father. And you see all these people around me. There's a lot of things going on. I know you're having a hard time right now, but if I'm honest, your daughter's probably not going to make it. By the time I get there, it's probably not going to happen. And so, blessings to you, and come out to my seminar next week. We don't get any indication from Jesus about that. We get wonderful news that Mark says Jesus went with him right away. I think it's wonderful news that Jesus treats Jairus like this in his suffering. He has time for a regular guy in a regular family. Isn't it wonderful news that Jesus is like that in our own suffering? He has time for you no matter what you are going through. You don't need to worry if you've put your trust in him, or if you're considering trusting him. Will he respond to you in your suffering? Look at how he responded to Jairus. He went immediately with him. To anyone who implores Jesus, he will be there, and he will always have time for you. So they go off rushing right away. There is no time to waste. They have to get to Jairus' house. They must hurry if they're going to be able to save her and end the little girl's suffering, Jairus' suffering, and his wife, of course. There is a glimpse of hope, but they have to hurry. And then something happens to interrupt their rush, which we could imagine would probably be very distressful to Jairus when it happened. Jesus gets interrupted. And he's interrupted by someone whose suffering is in many ways just as great as Jairus' suffering over his own daughter. Mark tells us this was a woman, she was probably older, who had been suffering for years. We have to understand how great her plight is. And so to do that, we got to kind of understand the original context. Mark tells us for 12 years she had a discharge of blood. This was perhaps related to some sort of venereal disease, which we have no idea how that could have come. Could have been related to her own natural cycle and something not going correctly with that. But either way, whatever it was, the details Mark gives us make it very clear how desperate her position is. She had tried tons of doctors. You see how he says that? He says she tried many physicians and none could help them. She spent all that she had. She exhausted all of her finances and no one was able to help her. And then the topper, he says, is she only got worse. She's done everything. She's at a loss. She spent all she had. She has no more money to give. There are no more doctors to ask. And she's only gotten worse. We also have to understand what kind of plight this woman would have had in ancient Israel at that time. Under the Torah and the Mosaic law, after a woman's period, you were unclean for 7 days. That's just a normal, everyday woman. And ladies in here, you can have all sorts of reactions, I'm sure, to that. But for whatever reason, that was part of the ceremonial law. That changes after Christ and everything, so you don't need to worry about all that stuff. But that's how it was at that time. And so for this woman, if you were unclean, you could not go to the temple ever. You could not make any sacrifices. You wouldn't be able to go to the synagogue. The temples where the main big sacrifices and pilgrimages would have been made in Jerusalem. You couldn't go to the local synagogue because if you were unclean, if you touched anyone else, they themselves became unclean for a similar period of time, and they themselves would be excluded from normal community and religious observance. You had to go through purification. That's just a normal woman. This woman, though, has had a discharge for 12 years. So she's been in a constant state of uncleanness before God and before the ceremonial law and before others for more than a decade. She can't touch anyone else lest they become unclean for 12 years. She can't go to any worship service at any point lest she make others unclean. She can receive no religious blessing of community and fulfilling the sacrifices God calls him to and walking with him at the temple. We can assume she has no husband. He's not mentioned here at all because who knows who would marry someone that's constantly forever unclean. She's a complete pariah to the rest of society by no fault of her own that we can tell. Her physical suffering is matched by her social and emotional suffering as well. Physical suffering is almost always like this, right? It can feel so lonely. People that I have talked to that are going through various kinds of great suffering. Others don't know your pain, and they can't know your pain completely. They don't understand what you need all the time. You may not understand what you need. You may not be able to communicate what you need. Or they may suffocate you in trying to take care of you, which adds to the emotional distress of what is going on. Or they may stay away because they just don't know how to deal with the emotions of what you are going through. The suffering gets multiplied many times over just the physical aspect, and that's certainly true for this woman here. Her state in many ways is no less desperate than the little girl's at this point. But she too has heard about this miracle worker, Jesus. She has heard that he's not like other physicians who have all failed her, not like other doctors. He won't even take any money, apparently, even when people try to give it to him. She doesn't have any anyway, so it doesn't matter even if she did. And he won't, she prays, and she thinks, treat her like the outcast that she actually is, because she's unclean. She thinks, Mark tells us, if I can just touch the corner of his garment, then perhaps I'll find some relief and healing. Now, if you grew up going to church, or if you have a religious background, this may sound a little, you go, hey now, I know how this works. This is very superstitious here, like touching clothes. The power's in the, we go, okay, the power is not in the clothes from Jesus. It's not like, Jesus changes clothes and then people can pick up his clothes and then go heal a bunch of people. It's like, look, Jesus is the one where the power comes from. That's the big deal here. He's the second member of the Trinity. He's the Son of God. The power comes from him, not in his clothes, clearly. We may think this seems like just a silly belief that she has, that somehow touching Jesus' clothes will make her better. Jesus is probably going to correct her silly belief and silly superstition here to put her in the right place. And then what happens? She touches his cloak. Mark tells us in verse 29, and immediately the flow of blood dried up, and she felt in her body for the first time in 12 years healing for her disease. It works in one mere touch, not of Jesus, just his clothes. Without Jesus even facing her or talking to her or having a long conversation about, let's make sure your beliefs are in the right place, and before I do this healing for you here, none of that. She just reaches for him. And after 12 years, in one moment, all the money, all the doctors who had failed her, one touch from Jesus, 12 years of suffering ends. Why? Because it was not her superstition, or even in some ways her correct orthodoxy of belief and getting that all exactly right, that brought her healing. It's that she trusted Jesus, right? It was her faith in Jesus that changed everything. That was the key, not the manner of exactly how or why Jesus' power, where it exactly comes from. Jesus doesn't care. Hear this. How you come to him, what your particular past beliefs are, whether they entirely line up with everything that would be considered proper doctrine today. He just wants you. He wants you. And he wants you to come to him and believe. He'll work out that other stuff as time gets going, as you join a body of other believers and you start learning together. How do we know this is the case? How do we know it was her faith that did it? Well, because after the healing comes, he seeks her out, right? Again, Jesus is not here just to be a miracle worker and then move on. He will not rest until he knows her. Isn't that wonderful? She got the healing she needed. She got the things she really wanted. Jesus says, where is she? Power's gone out for me. I need to see her. I need to know her. And of course, the disciples, when he goes, who touched me? There's, just this huge crowd around, and you get this wonderful disciples. Jesus, dude. People be touching you all over the place here. You're crazy. You're not going to know what you're looking for, but Jesus knows something significant has happened, and he wants to meet her. Again, she was an outcast from everyone else, unclean in every way, but Jesus is drawing near to her when no one else would. He finally finds her. She confesses her belief and healing, and Jesus' words, hey, you really shouldn't have touched me because you're unclean and I'm like really, really holy. And do you see the problem you've created now for my ministry? And this is going to be on, CNN later and all these reports. And it's going to be really bad. And my fundraising is going to get messed up. No, his answer, daughter, your faith has made you well. Just think of those words, daughter. There's a nearness, there's a closeness, and she's been an outcast for 12 years. Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace, healed of your disease. In one moment, this woman becomes a model for Jairus now, and for the crowd on exactly what is needed, and a model for us. Jesus doesn't want your money, okay? Make that really clear. There's a lot of people, a lot of teachers, a lot of people on TV, a lot of people with bigger churches than us, fancier cars than us, big gold thrones and things in the back of the church that say the opposite. Jesus doesn't want your money. Jesus doesn't want your piety, your attempts to be good enough before you come to him. He doesn't want your reputation, how good or how bad it is. He doesn't want you to try and clean up your past before you come to him. He doesn't want your great accomplishments that you have that other people get very excited about. He doesn't want your potential for the future and what you could bring, what return on investment you may have if he decides to put his mercy on you. He doesn't want your right politics or your wokeness before he wants you to come. He just wants you. Full stop. That's all he requires. If you're not a Christian, that's all he requires of you to become a Christian. You expressed in faith and trust in him. If you already know Jesus, if you walked with him for a long time, he doesn't want you to perform for him. He just wants you every day to come to him expressed in faith. When he gets you, as with this woman, he will do amazing things. Sometimes healing like you've never known. But something's happened, right? At this point in the story. What about Jairus? What about his daughter? We've just seen an amazing work of God in this amazing moment with this woman, but it's interrupted everything. We were on our way to see an amazing healing of Jesus raising this girl from her deathbed and almost being completely gone. Jesus was going to work wonders. It's wonderful to see this woman healed, but what about this little girl? What about Jairus' suffering? Verse 35, while he was still speaking, there came from the ruler's house some who said, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble Jesus any further?" It's too late. While a wonderful miracle has happened to this suffering woman, Jairus' little girl has died. Can you imagine in that moment? All the hope that Jairus had, the last bit of hope that he had that maybe his daughter could be healed and the suffering would end, all of it disappears in one little moment of hearing your daughter has died. It's probably an extreme moment of grief for him when there had been such hope just a moment before. But Jesus will have none of it, right? Jesus turns to Jairus in his immense suffering. We can imagine as Jairus' face falls, you can almost picture Jesus lifting up his chin, looking him in the eyes and saying, "Do not fear. Jairus, don't be afraid. Only believe. Put your trust in me." Jesus, in a sense, saying, Jairus, did you see just a moment ago what happened with that woman? I'm after that with you, Jairus. Trust in me, not your suffering or your circumstances. To any of you who are suffering today, in whatever capacity, physical, emotional, relational, this is exactly what Jesus is after with your heart. Do not fear. Do not trust in the power of your suffering or in the insurmountability of your circumstances. Trust in him is what he's asking from you. Have you begun to look at your suffering, your hard times, your circumstances, and started to trust in their power? Have you looked at your difficulties and what you are going through and feared them instead of fearing God? Jesus lifts your chin, looks you in the eyes, and says, "Do not fear, only believe." Jairus is clinging to Jesus probably at this point. He hears that claim. He's trying to believe, most likely, Jesus will do something with his dead daughter. The mourners, as I said before, as we move on in the story, they've already arrived. They're wailing out loud when they hear Jesus say, "No, she's not dead. Watch what's going to happen." They mock him, right? They mock him and probably Jairus' faith in Jesus. Many will do the same today if you trust in Jesus. People will mock you. They'll say it sounds ridiculous and silly, the hope you're putting out there. But then this happens. Verse 41, taking her by the hand, he says to the little girl, Talitha Kumi, which means, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." And immediately the girl got up and Jesus said, "Let's make some breakfast." Get some food in that girl's belly, right? In both of these stories of suffering today, incredible things happen, right? Those suffering most were both female. The little girl and the old woman. Children and women in that day were second-class citizens. Mark is specifically focusing on something that Jesus did to make a point about how he values those who are often seen as second class in other people's eyes. Children and women were far less important, far less power than men in ancient Israel. Yet Jesus has time for them, all the time in the world. And he will be gladly interrupted by all who come to him. The same is true for you today. Never think your hardships, your suffering, whatever you're going through, are too little or you're not important enough for him. And in both of these stories, the original people in the story would have expected the opposite of what happened. Unclean people spread their uncleanness, their impurity to others when they touch them. And they have to go get purified, and they have to be cast out from people for a time. Jesus should have been made unclean by the woman suffering from the discharge and by touching a corpse when he did. Same thing in the law of Moses. You become unclean if you touch a dead body. But with Jesus, the opposite happens, right? Jesus' purity and holiness and wholeness spreads to them. And their uncleanness is transferred onto him and disappears forever. Jesus does this today for all who are suffering and who trust in him. Either a miraculous healing or a healing that will finally come in the next life when he returns. And the cross is where the opposite of what we'd expect ultimately takes place. Jesus absorbs all our uncleanness because of our sin. And it's gone forever when we've trusted in him. His purity, his cleanness, his wholeness then is transferred completely onto us. Forever and ever. All it takes is you. He wants you expressed in your faith. Let's pray. Lord, it's great to spend time in the Old Testament and the Jewish scriptures to see who you are. You were spoken of just as really and powerfully and truthfully in the Old Testament as you are in the New. But I am so thankful we have these intimate pictures of Jesus. This is the one who is worthy, the one who has time for everyone, the one who has time for those who the rest of society and those in power don't have time for, or overlook, or don't think are important. The little 12-year-old girl crying because she's in so much pain. The child who's been separated from her parents. A woman who has exhausted all of her finances and can't do anything else. You have time. And you spread your holiness, your goodness, your beauty, your purity to us instead of us corrupting you. Thank you, Jesus, for who you are, what you've done. Thank you for the healing that you bring. We again pray for those specifically suffering from cancer and chronic illnesses. God, bring healing miraculously in ways that we see here. Do it through conventional medical means. God, heal our emotional distress and pain that we have as well. Teach us to put our trust in you and not our circumstances and not our suffering. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.